My grandmother had always been a superstitious person. She was ancient, and was always going on about some urban legend or certain things you were not to do in a specific manner. We would speak of things like skinwalkers, haunting spirits, or hook-handed hitchhikers. But of course, I never believed her. And now, well, I really wish I had heeded her words. It was making out to be a dark but clear evening. There wasn't a cloud or star to be seen, and it nearly sent shivers down my spine. My family had all gathered at my mother's house for the holidays. While a few decided to leave, I was stuck, staying here. My gaze led me across the room to my great-grandmother Myrtle, who seemed to be dozing in her chair. Checking my watch, I realized it was later than I thought, and I decided to go up to bed. I crossed the room and gently placed a large knit blanket over Grandma. As I turned away, I nearly jumped out of my skin as a bony hand clamped down on my forearm. I turned to face her, and she looked wide awake now. I looked at her expectantly, waiting for her to say something to break the chilling silence. Her eyes widened, and she seemed to be looking right through me, into my very soul. "Don't you know, you're never to look out a window when the moon is full and the clock strikes 12, she said, barely loosening her grip on my arm. Well, I didn't know what else to do, so I weakly nodded my head and gently pried myself from her deathly grasp. I made my way up the creaky stairs and soon snuggled myself into the guest bed. I lay there, awake, thinking about the chilling words of my grandmother. Well, my curiosity was starting to consume me, so I decided that one little peek out of the window couldn't hurt. I checked my watch as I sat up to look out of the window. It read 11:59 p.m. as I drew the curtains back as quietly as I could. I waited until the clock struck 12, and I concentrated my gaze on everything outside of the window. I waited for what seemed like hours, expecting some sort of boogeyman to pop up out of the bushes. After seeing nothing, I shook my head and buried myself back into bed. I hadn't even closed my eyes for 10 seconds when I heard it. It sounded like someone was flinging small pebbles at my window. I rolled over, thinking it was some idiot teenagers trying to play some sort of joke. But the small pebble-like sounds began to escalate into a furious pounding on my window. "Oh, bastards," I muttered, as I found myself climbing out from under the covers and making my way back to the window. I angrily drew the curtains back, expecting to see some stupid kid. My blood froze, when what met me on the other side was not some reckless teenager. It was tall. Taller than any sort of person I'd ever seen in my life. Its skin was the same shade of copy paper, and was stretched tightly over its bony, emaciated frame. Dirty, matted hair lay in patches on its skull, and it was wearing a filthy, tattered dress that hung loosely over its sickly body. But the worst part were its eyes, or what was left of them anyway. Deep, soulless black sockets that seemed to go on forever. Despite its lack of eyes, I knew that it was staring right at me. If you've ever read the scary stories to tell in the dark book as a child, you may remember the nightmare-inducing illustrations. I felt like I was looking at a creature from a page in that book. Resorting to childhood behavior, I jumped back into bed and pulled the covers over my head, hoping I'd just imagined it and it would all go away. But I began to realize my worst fears as I heard the sound of the front door forcefully open. And here I am, writing this. I managed to wriggle myself under the bed and wait for my death. I can hear it stepping around the house, looking for me. Its steps are slow, but I know it will find me eventually. My message to you is, if you have a grandmother anything like mine, or some person like that in your area, then listen to them. No matter how crazy they seem, they know. They know that you shouldn't make the mistake of looking out the window at midnight during a full moon. Take this warning. No matter how curious you are, do not take the risk. I know it's coming for me. In fact, the bedroom door just creaked open. Hey there. Thank you so much for taking the time to drop by and listen to this story today. It really means a lot to me. I put a lot of time and effort into making these videos, so it's nice to know that there's someone out there listening. Do me a little favor, would you? Click that like button, leave a comment, and if you really feel like it, why not subscribe too? Okay, happy tales everyone. See you soon.